let's start off with just a little bit of your background, where you're from, any interesting stories from childhood, and things that led up into when you joined the Navy.
There are people that, when you're young and you have the whole future in front of you, and what happens is a person of influence just makes a comment or just gives you, asks you a question that changes the direction of your life. Well, the night before my physical for the Navy, I was celebrating the night before and celebrated a little bit too much, so that when I had the exam the next day, I failed the vision portion of the physical. So here I am. I'm walking up the steps to the Navy ROTC building, and the commanding officer of the Navy ROTC, who you don't really deal with much, but as seniors, he knows every one of us, and he says, "Midshipman Kraft." He says, "I have a question for you." He said, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "I expected you to sign up for aviation." I said, "Well, sir, I failed the physical." He says, "Then I ask you a question. Were you drinking the night before?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he says, "Would you be willing to have that physical over, take the vision test again?" And I said, "Well, yes, sir." And he turns to the gunny and says, "Gunny, take my car, take Kraft down, get them checked for his vision." And sure enough, I get tested that morning, and my vision is 2010, 2015, and I'm then I get selected for aviation out of the Navy ROTC, ensign, and I'm on my way to Pensacola to start flight training.
So 3 months out of college, I'm flying that right there. That's the T-34. Basically, all they teach you in this whole thing when you're flying T-34 is basic aviation. It's just flight rules, how to be a pilot. No different than flying a Cessna, only this is a military trainer and fully acrobatic. It was a very fun airplane to fly. One of the first things they teach you flying this airplane was, if anything goes wrong, do just the opposite of what you were doing. If it keeps happening, you're probably putting the controls in the wrong place, so do the opposite of what you've been doing.
And I did very well there, and graduated first in my class from flight school at primary, and got picked for jets.
This is a T-2 Buckeye. I flew it up in Meridian, Mississippi. Going from the T-34 to this aircraft, the Buckeye, was quite the transition, because it's going twice as fast at liftoff, and you get there twice as fast, or more, even more. And so you're already up to speed, usually when your brain doesn't even know what's happened on your first 1 or 2 flights.
Once you finished carrier quals, you move on to advanced jets, the F-9 Cougar. I think it was the first carrier-based jet the Navy had.
We'd fire guns and strafe and all that out on the range in Texas, which is always fun. It was always fun doing this stuff, especially if you never had to go to war, which I didn't.
It looked great in the air. It was probably the ugliest airplane on the ground. And it's all about looks, when you're a naval aviator.
We were the last group to be trained in the F-9. After that, all the pilots being trained after us were in the transition to A-4s.
Out of 30 pilots getting their wings at this time, I'm like 15. I'm right in the middle of the pack. And the first guy gets to pick whatever, like A6s, F-4s, A7s. Those are the 3 fleet seats. And you want a fleet seat. You want to go to a carrier-based aircraft, and you want to be in the action. That's what you were being trained for. So like 3 weeks before I'm to get my wings, I have orders to OV-10s. And I'm going, what the heck is an OV-10? And you look it up, it's a turboprop, and it looks like a Cobra helicopter with a high wing and twin tails, and it flies low and it flies slow, and it's a forward air observer and a gunship for supporting the Marines, and it's land-based. And so that was where I was heading. I was heading to Vietnam, OV-10s. And then 3 weeks before that happened, before I got my wings, the detailer calls me and says, Jim, says, I'm having to change your orders. You're not going OV-10s. We're going to send you to the Naval Missile Center, Point Mugu. What happened to the OV-10s, they got caught on the ground in Vietnam on the base. It was a night attack, and they all got destroyed. Again, something happened to keep me from going to Vietnam. Well, the Naval Missile Center, Point Mugu, they have every aircraft that the Navy flies, and they're doing missile separation tests and getting the F-14 accepted into the fleet. And that would be what I would be doing for the next, basically it ended up being 3 years. And now the F-14, during the trials, we realized that the F-14 had a problem with its gun camera. When it's tracking through 4 Gs on a target, the gun camera would cut off. Grumman was trying to deal with what's causing it, when exactly does it come on? Does it do it in all directions and all that? So I was briefed with the Grumman pilot, said, okay, what I need you to do is in the A-4, you fly up to 22,000 feet, and we're gonna roll 45 degrees to the horizon, and I want you to pull the bottom portion, from the top to the bottom of a loop, and just pull 4 Gs, and then as you do that, come back up, get to 22,000 feet, now let's roll to the right and do it. We're gonna do it over and over and over again. So he's behind me, and I roll to the left, and I pull 4 Gs, and he's tracking behind me. Now the 4th time he comes up and he roll to the right, and so I roll to the right, and I pull 4 Gs, and immediately the airplane just departs flight, and it is tumbling through the air. I'm thrown around, just up into the canopy, all over the place. And although I'm strapped in, but the airplane is just violently shaking, rolling and stuff, and I can't figure it out. So then my angle of attack was like level. It was like nothing, So I'm screaming through the air, and I'm diving. So it's like you start at 22,000 feet, and you look at your altimeter, and it's going 20, 19, 18. It's just whoa. So every time I pull the stick, it departs again and throws me through this violent oscillation and stuff, and then it stabilizes nose down. And I'm passing through 10,000 feet out of control. The mandate is you punch out. So I'm coming up on 10,000 feet, and I have no control on this airplane. And so the only thing immediately, it was like a voice, and I believe it was a voice, spoke to me and says, do absolutely the opposite of everything you're doing. I took my feet off the rudders. Immediately, I took the stick and I threw it forward, so I hadn't put 2 negative Gs on the airplane, and the airplane stabilized, and I was in the vertical. Turns out I was like nose down, and I started pulling, and it didn't depart. So then I just pulled. I'm doing 450, 500 miles an hour, and I'm going straight down to the deck, and I passed through 10 like easy. I'm pulling like 6 Gs, and I bottomed out somewhere between 50 and 200 feet. I came right down to the deck on the water, and then came back up. At that point, I could hear the radios came back on, and the Grumman pilot says, "That's good, 204, we got enough, let's take it back." So I said, "Roger," and I just come up and I get on his wing, and we fly in to Point Mugu. Do the brake, he brakes, I brake, come in, land, and you go in, and they said, "Anything to report?" I said, "Yeah, I pulled 6 Gs on the airplane."
Here we go in the F-4 Phantom. It was the last aircraft I flew in at Naval Missile Center, and it was a rocket ship. Afterburner, great looking airplane on takeoff. Love the look of it. Just everything about the F-4 is cool.
One of the missions that happens every quarter at the Naval Missile Center is they just take a random sample of Sidewinder missiles, Sparrow missiles, the different missiles that they're firing out of the fleet, and they take them randomly out of what was going to the fleet, and they send them to the Missile Center, and we have to shoot them and make sure they're working and tracking and doing their job. It's basically a quality check. So here it is, it's a Friday, and it's at the end of the month, and it happens to be at the end of the quarter, and there was a celebration going on at the Officers Club. We normally call it happy hour. So all the fighter pilots and all the attack pilots were at the club, and I was a junior guy, and I had to finish putting up the schedule for the next week, so everybody knew what was going on. So the chief and I and my first class are all doing the board and getting it all ready, and in walks one of the Rios, or the backseaters for the F-4 fighter group, and they say, since I was qualified in the F-4, he comes to me and says, hey, Crafty, we have a flight. We got 2 Sparrows we need to fire, and everybody has been at the club for a couple hours. We can't call them back, so you're going to get to shoot the Sparrows this quarter. And I'm going, whoa, okay. So with I think I was 2 Sparrows on board, and we fly up and climb to altitude, and there's a live drone, one of those orange babies, coming at us, and he has it on radar, and we get to a certain range. He says, okay, arm the Sparrow, and I arm the Sparrow, and he says, okay, when you pull the trigger, he says it's going to come off, and it'll drop down, and it'll come up over the aircraft. He says, then pull the nose up and roll so we can watch it. And I pull the trigger, Sparrow comes off, so I pull the nose up and I roll, and we watch it track, and you can see the orange coming at it, and this thing, and boom, just explodes in the air. And oh, that was so cool. Well, we have a full tank of gas. We need to do something with this. I said, what's that? And he says, well, have you ever done Mach 2? And I said, no, are you kidding me? I haven't done Mach 1. And he says, well, let's see what we can do about that. What we're going to do is we're going to take it, and you're going to go full afterburner and go screaming up, go vertical. Approaching 50,000 feet. So now go 0G and take us over the top 0G. And he says, I don't think we're going to get to Mach 2 because it had all the racks on it to hold the Sparrows. And he says, it'll be your one time you get to try. So, sure enough, we go to 45,000 feet, and I start pitching. I go through 50, 55, and I come over the top, and you can actually see the curvature of the earth up there at that point. And now I'm coming down, screaming down in afterburner, and so then it's like, and watch the Mach meter, and we went through Mach 1, 1.0, just like nothing, and then it went Mach 1.87 was the high, it was as fast as I could get. And he says, yeah, it wasn't you, it was it was the racks on the airplane. So we came back in, landed, taxied in, 2 of us head over to the Officers Club and walk in, and my Rio says, you losers, not only did Kraft shoot off 2 Sparrow missiles, he got the 1.87 today. So it was a pretty good day. Yeah, typical Friday at the club, I'm flying the flight pattern of a missile that's being shot off an A6, comes off, goes down to the to sea level, and then tracks in and is attacking a ship down there on the ocean. I do the pattern of the missile, and I drop down, but the problem is there's cloud cover all below. There's strict instructions. You do not fly through solid cloud level, no matter what. You have to go visual flight rules only. You have to be able to find a hole and fly through that to get down. But I didn't see it, so I just flew directly over the ship at as low as I could go, and that was above the clouds. Come back up and join up on an A3 and get tanked, so I refuel in air. After I've refueled and I'm heading back to the A6, I am told that the captain of the ship referred to the naval aviator that just flew or missed that he couldn't see because I was above the clouds as chicken shit. I didn't really like the comment myself, so I joined back up on the A6, and the A6 pilot, he calls it away, And I fly the pattern again. This time I'm flying down and I am looking for a hole, and I circle and I find a hole and I pop through the hole, and now I'm down. I like to fly low, so I was down around 50 feet off the water, and I'm in and out of afterburner. See, if it's not an afterburner, the F-4 makes black smoke, so you can actually see it. So I wanted to be an afterburner, but I didn't want to boom him. So I come, because he would have reported me, but I am right on the edge. So I come over and I cross over the bow of the ship, and you can see the bridge, and I can see the captain with a cup of coffee, or at least it's pictured in my mind exactly as Maverick going by and that coffee going up into his lap. And I go over the bow of the ship, and I just pulled straight up and right through the clouds, and just boom. And I knew that I racked that boat, and then I come back to A6, and I'm coming back down. And the controller says, Bulldog 204, the captain of the ship asked, could you elevate it and leave, and could you please not be an afterburner and you're approaching. Just, he wanted to be able to see me, He probably had to change his pants too. So anyway, that's the Black Shoe Navy for you. That was F-4. There was other things that happened with that. It was a great airplane to fly. I would love to fly it again someday, but now they're all in the museum. All the airplanes I flew are in the museum right now. Yeah, my kid, when he was rotten kid, he was, I think, 11 years old, 10 or 11. And we're at the Air and Space Museum in Seattle. And we're walking around the airplanes. My dad's with us. And there's an A4, a Blue Angel A4, the number 4 on it, up in Seattle. And I'm looking at the tail number, and I'm going, oh, I have that tail number in my flight book. I flew that. That was the Super Fox that I told you about earlier. Now it's in the museum in Seattle. And my son says, oh, Dad, look at this. You're so old that all the airplanes you've ever flew are in the museum. Kids, right? Take them and shoot them. Anyway, I look back and I'm going, I can't believe that I've had the privilege to do all these different things, all because a few people decided to take interest in me and just help me along the way. Help me, like when I'm confused or whatever, there's always been somebody that came in and has helped me make the right decisions. I'm nothing. I mean, I got to have fun in a time when there was war and I didn't have to go. So I've had 21 years in the Navy. And retired as a commander. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.